Yeah.
The Final Four, and it's something interesting is happening, and it's not on the men's side, right? Because Connecticut is just showing what they are. They're a wagon. It'll just be interesting how it turns out Monday night. I think it'll be a pretty good game, is what's happening on the women's side. So first, John, remember we said that we believe that the Iowa LSU game would probably be like a Magic Bird type game. Mm-hmm. We were right. It was the highest numbers for a women's college basketball game at that point. It then got broken when Iowa beat UConn Friday night at 14 million viewers. This is absolutely amazing. And then I guess what's kind of absolutely sad at the same time is in the social media realm that we're in, people are now really using the Caitlin Clark avenue. And this is what was really good about Paige Becker saying this at the podium a couple days ago. She was like, don't put that crap on me next year when I come back. I'm not trying to be your whatever you want me to be in this pantheon of women's college basketball. Right? Because even with the Angel Reese situation, more people had things to say about what she's done personally than even discussing that she had won a national title the year before. So now if you want to discuss what her grades might or might not have been at Maryland, I say that's fair game because that determines on what goes on the court. But that's what they weren't talking about. And so now you have this narrative. Like, it was really a bad question by a reporter last night to Dawn Staley about her thoughts about people, I'm not even going to say who the transgender should be able to play women's basketball. If you're going to ask that question, you should say, how do you feel about this player named and school named playing in women's college basketball? But this is kind of the visceral that's just kind of disgusting, right? Why take away from the beauty of the game that you have an undefeated team going against the person who's doing State Farm commercials? Like, come on, some UConn fans will tell you, like, how will you play the State Farm commercials if Iowa lost? So it's sad, but it's exciting because the women's game is more exciting than the men's game has been this year.
Oh, yeah, and I felt this way the whole tourney. I was more excited and interested for the women's tournament this year. By first time in my life, that's been the case, but I was more excited, and it's been a better tournament. It's been more entertaining, bigger storylines, and I think a part of this, KJ, is the women's game. First of all, it's just more popular. It's got more star power, but also they have athletes that actually stay in school for 2 or 3 years. Like, how many guys on the men's side are one and done?
The WNBA doesn't pay anything.
Right, no, but I think that in a inverse way has helped the popularity of women's college basketball because Caitlin Clark wasn't a one and done. Paige Beckers wasn't a one and done. Angel Reese wasn't a one and done. Like, so many NBA players
That's it.
are
UCLA
one and done.
Is not a one and done. Yep.
Yeah, like so many NBA players on the men's side are one and done players. And I think because of that, it helps build an identity. Like Caitlin Clark in Iowa. Like that's been a multi-year building of an identity and a connection, not just to the Iowa fan base, but to the national fan base across the country of basketball fans, right? But if she was a one and done, that wouldn't have happened. Like the best team in the WNBA, the Las Vegas Aces, right? They're loaded. They're a wagon. I bet you more people know who Caitlin Clark is than know who multiple players on the Las Vegas Aces are. And that's not to denigrate the WNBA, but I just think women's college basketball has done such a great job of growing that, and a huge part of it is you have girls that stay multiple years, unlike the men's game, and I think that's a big reason why now the women's game, at least I think entertainment value-wise, has exceeded the men's game in a lot of respects.
I think because of the dominance of UConn, like UConn going undefeated in a season in women's basketball is kind of like, yeah, there's peanut butter on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? But I think that's kind of the missing storyline that's here is if Iowa doesn't win, then that's 2 straight years Caitlin Clark doesn't win a national championship.
Yep.
And South Carolina goes undefeated. Or if Iowa wins, then suddenly we get more State Farm commercials throughout the summer, and South Carolina gets its one loss at the very end of the season. Now, here's who I think is really put on notice, and this is a brilliant chess play by Ice Cube. Ice Cube offers Caitlin Clark $5 million to go play in the Big Three because the WNBA team isn't going to give her $5 million a year, right? Yeah. And that puts the WNBA on notice. Hence, does the NBA step back in and start to fund the WNBA a little bit more? Because there have been issues between Ice Cube and the NBA, right? I don't know if you know the story of where he was trying to bring a Big Three game to Memphis. The Memphis team owns the building. At the last minute, they canceled the game on him, and he believes that it was part of the NBA that had something to do with him getting canceled at the last moment. So Ice Cube has a bone to pick, right? It's yes, Caitlin. Like I actually, the Big Three game would be perfect for her. She could just stand out and shoot from 4 points. But I think it takes away. You don't want to suddenly turn her into a globetrotter, if you will. Yeah. So does the NBA need to step in to help out with this wagon of talent that's coming into the WNBA fast? Reese, Caitlin Clark.
Beckers is going to be in there the next couple of years.
Beckers will be in there probably. She'll probably stay for another year at school. You've got other players that are high quality. Juju Parker may be there in 2 years.
The whole Juju Watkins and the
whole South. I just made her a receiver. I'm sorry.
But you have the whole South Carolina team too. Within the next couple of years, and that's the NBA has an opportunity here too. The WNBA should probably play at the same time as the NBA. I think that would be better for they play in the summer now, which is kind of the toughest time of year, I feel like, to get eyeballs on a sport anyway. And you have all this talent coming in. I think it's an opportunity for the NBA to try to take it to another level.
Season, though, because the NBA season virtually plays. I mean, you'll have to dedicate a day of the week that they play and say no NBA games play on that day, but somebody's playing somebody somewhere all the time.
Yeah, but I think you could make it. I think you could make that work, and I think that could be an instance where maybe the popularity feeds off itself, right? If the Celtics are good in March, and maybe you watch a Connecticut Sun game in March after the Celtics game if they're good. That's just an example, but if they're both good, that I think can feed off each other.
I think what Caitlin Clark's going to do, and then we'll get to would you rather, more likely to either or. Here's the only comparison I will make with Jordan. Jordan was so much bigger than the game that's how you end up with the Toronto Raptors and the Vancouver Grizzlies, right? That's how you end up with those teams because he's so big that it caused for expansion. I think in her situation, it's going to cause for more financial investment from the NBA to the game, knowing that, even before the hype train really took off for Caitlin Clark, there were games they were getting higher ratings than the NHL Game of the Week.
Oh, yeah.
So they've been noticing this for a while. So when you start getting into the 14 and 13 millions, you've got to do something if you're the NBA.
Yeah, that's we're talking the only thing you're competing with at that level is the college football playoff in the NFL. When you're getting the 14, didn't they outrate every game except Game 5 of the NBA Finals in the NBA last year?
Yeah, but Denver is one of those teams, right?
But point being, that's the Clark factor. To me, if Caitlin Clark's not in that game, it's not 14 million people. And Angel Reese deserves some credit, too.
Well, even in the other game, it was 7 million people, and that's still a high number.
Oh, sure, yeah.
All right, so we still have more Red Sox to talk about, including the 2004 team returning on Tuesday. Will people ask for them to actually bring their mitts? That's coming in 5-10 minutes. But right now, it's time for... Oh, yeah. We haven't played this in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Would you